Speaking of Gavin Newsom, he's out there trying to rewrite his COVID history. Truly one of the worst in the nation, possibly the worst on the lockdowns about which you were very public. And he's doing two things, saying we did way better than we did poorly. We had way more successes than we had mistakes. And by the way, anything you don't like was the result of local government in California. Not me. It wasn't me. Here's a flavor of an interview he gave with Fox 11 anchor Elix Michelson in SOT 10.
What do you think was the biggest lesson learned in terms of what we did wrong that maybe you would do differently the next time around?
I'm not consumed by what we did wrong. I'm consumed a little bit more by what we did right. I mean, we led the nation in terms of, there's no large state that outperformed California. On a per capita basis, the number of people lost their lives in California is substantially lower in places like Texas and Florida. We had less learning loss than states like Florida and elsewhere. So we outperformed the rest of the nation in that respect. At the time, we didn't know what we didn't know. And we're experts, we're geniuses. In hindsight, though, we have a report that we're looking forward to publishing on areas where we could have proved to substantively answer that question, not emotionally answer that question, through an objective lens, not a partisan lens.
Oh, my Lord. Let me just give you the second defense because it speaks to how anything you didn't like, that wasn't me. The school closures, that was those asshole local mayors. I ceded all control to them. Listen.
Schools shut down too long.
I mean, in certain parts of the state, they were open.
Yeah.
And that we gave local control. The local control funding formula, it's a constitutional construct. It allows localism. And we advanced localism. We didn't have command and control. We allowed that local control. And in some cases, it was, yes, they waited too long. In other cases, they didn't. It's an interesting fact, isn't it, that states like Florida are out there saying we opened up earlier, and yet they did worse in academic achievement. We have to, I think, come out of this with a sense of humility, absolutely, but also a little grace, that California tended to do a little bit better than most other states.
I mean, like literally every word of that was a lie.
Yes, total revisionist history. Well, let's just think about it. So you're saying states where they shut schools down and kept kids at home, like California, the kids did better academically at home than they did in states that were free, that did not close the schools? Well, in that case, why are kids at school right now? Why not just shut all the schools so they can stay home and get more learning in than states that let the kids go to school? Because that's essentially what he's saying. I know he can't do math, and I know we don't keep track of math scores in California, but if you're doing the math, you're saying, okay, so the longer and the harder you lock down, the more the kids flourish academically. That's number one. Number two, this guy is a goddamn sociopath. I talked to him. I stared into the eye of the beast for an hour and a half on my podcast, and all he does is lie. He like puts Brill cream on his teeth. I don't know why more idiots don't understand who this guy is. I lived in California. They shut down the beaches. They arrested people for paddleboarding in the harbor. They shut down all the beach volleyball courts. By the way, being outdoors, vitamin D, exercise, sunshine could have been the best thing for you during COVID. But no, he locked them all up in their apartments. This guy's a sociopathic, tyrannical dictator, and nobody should listen to a goddamn word this idiot says.
Tell us how you really feel. He's numbers are actually...
Sociopath. He's a liar. And by the way, he didn't believe COVID for 10 minutes. He was out eating, and I think you can check the timeline. When he was at the French Laundry, which is the most expensive place you can eat in California, with 28 of his closest friends, arm in arm, banging elbows, no mask, eating indoors. The following week, he shut down outdoor dining based on zero science in California. Zero science. He never believed in COVID.
He did want school lockdowns. And at the same time he was pushing them for everyone else's kids, he sent his 4 kids to private school, which was open. So his kids got to go to school while he kept all the other kids who are going to public school in California away from their teachers, away from in-person learning, which we know was of course better for the children to be in school. So it's of course, a double standard.
Well, and the teachers' unions are in the back pocket of the Democrats, and they're going to dictate to the Democrats what they want. And the teachers' unions are corrupt and they're cowards. And so they just wanted to stay home. So they just told all the Democrats who were in charge of California or Chicago or wherever they happen to be in charge, we're staying home. And we want to stay home. Who doesn't want to stay home? But Gavin Newsom's revisionist history on his tyrannical COVID lockdowns are insane. And by the way, why do revisionist history if you were right? If you were so much better than Florida, if you're so much better than Texas, then why do you need to go back and tweak the past? Just tell us what you did. And by the way, it's insulting for anyone who lived in California because they saw the schools close, they saw the playgrounds close, they saw the churches close, they saw the beaches close. I mean, these guys are sociopaths. I saw Eric Swalwell on a news show about 3 weeks ago, and he's like, the Democrats? Well, let me tell you about the Democrats. We're the party that if some airborne virus sweeps the land, we're the ones who are trying to open Main Street, open schools, open churches. Like,
oh my God,
said, churches and schools. You're the ones? Or you're the ones who locked everyone down and got everyone addicted to fentanyl and suicidal for a year and a half, you jackass.
That's exactly what Gavin Newsom did. We've covered at length his shutdown of the churches there and how he was on them. He got federal help in sniffing them out, underground investigators inside churches to see if people were wearing their masks and keeping social distancing. The feds are still going after some of them. Bill Malugin of Fox News tweeted out a reaction saying, this guy repeatedly shut down California businesses in 20 and 21. He issued stay-at-home orders. By the way, he definitely issued mask mandates and vaccine mandates for all the schools, which he did close. And he's doing something similar to what we saw Andrew Cuomo do, who's also trying to wiggle out of his authoritarian streak during COVID, which is they're saying, well, I didn't order them closed. Yeah, I left it to the locals. What they did was issue these, quote, like color-coded tiers that decided who could open and who couldn't, and then stayed in the red the entire time and got on the schools who didn't listen. That's, of course, what he was doing. And then, of course, sent his own kids to in-person learning at private school while the public schools in Sacramento County or all around him remained closed. Overnight curfews, closing of the businesses and so on. Obviously, though, he's running for office. There's zero chance for him to be doing this revisionist history if this guy were not running for office. And I don't care. We'll see how he manages to get Joe Biden off the ballot. Right now, RFK is polling at 22% of the Democrat Party, like 22%. So good luck getting him out of the way. I don't think there's some love affair for Gavin Newsom that's being tamped down right now. I really don't. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they're more progressive than I realize. But I think, old school liberals are not in love with the crazy ass far left progressive policies that Gavin Newsom has forced on Californians. And once they get a close look at that guy, I think they'll go rushing to RFK, Jake. They'll rush anywhere other than Gavin Newsom. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think?
Well, I think COVID let us see everyone for who they were and what they wanted. The same way as Israel and Hamas and Palestine, we're now getting to see who people really are, if you know what I mean. Like we're going, oh my God, these people are really showing their hand. Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, many of these people, certain Lori Lightfoot, many on the left, jumped at the opportunity to seize control over their populace. And they did it immediately, which meant they wanted to do it all along. Now, show me Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis showed us who he was as well. He did not want to do this. So what Gavin Newsom showed me was, let's just say you thought to yourself, I'm going to have a fire drill at my house. I'm not going to tell my wife. I'm just going to see how she reacts when I set the smoke detector off. And you did a fire drill and you set the smoke detector off, and your wife ran upstairs, grabbed her jewelry box, ran downstairs, knocked over one of the kids, pushed away the other kid who was standing in front of the door, ran out the front door and slammed it shut behind her. And then you thought, well, that was just a drill. But I at least know who this woman is now.
I learned something.
She didn't gather the kids together. She didn't say, you go first, I'll stay here. She didn't run for the box of baking soda or the fire extinguisher. I got to see who she was. And COVID was a fire drill for Gavin Newsom. I get to see who this jackass is. His first impulse is to shut everything down. And by the way, he'll go to SoFi Stadium, take a picture with Magic Johnson and not wear a mask. That's no problem. But he'd like you arrested if you don't wear your mask. Okay, I got to see who he is.
Freelance work is booming. So many people are taking the leap and starting their own business. But how do you maximize your earnings, minimize your taxes, and make sure you are legally compliant? It can be overwhelming, confusing, and it takes time away from your own billable hours. That's where the experts at Collective.com come in. Now, Collective was built specifically for businesses of one that are making over $60,000 in profit a year. Collective handles all of your back office work so you can focus on your passion and not your paperwork. And they can tell you how they can backdate your S-Corp and save you thousands on taxes this year. They handle business formation and compliance paperwork, taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, and even payroll. Check out collective.com/Megyn to potentially save thousands of dollars on your taxes. To sweeten the deal, they will also throw in an extra $100 off when you use my link. That's collective.com/Megyn to get started with your personal team of self-employed tax experts. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.